Hey guys, welcome to Guitar Dojo. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top two strings of your guitar. This is a way for you to prepare to move your open chords to different positions on your fretboard. These will be tools for you to identify your root notes, have 1, 2, 3 note options, as well as arpeggios to give you more options surrounding each root note. Using chord progressions are the backbone to song structure. The chord progression C, A minor, D minor, G gives you 4 out of 7 chords that work together. Understanding what you can do with the minimal amount of notes will just help your creativity. Songs like Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes use a single note to create a bass line, which is the structure for the whole song. You can see the way Metallica uses major and minor dyads to create this intro. System of a Down also uses major and minor dyads to create this intro. The song Miserable by Lit uses octaves and power chords in their intro. Adding bass lines to songs makes the song sound more complete. The guitar part for Plush by Stone Temple Pilots is if you add the bass line to that, that makes it sound way more interesting and fills that song out a little bit more. The guitar part for Badfish from Sublime is just if you add a bass line to that, makes that sound way more interesting. What we're going to do from here is we're going to work on building a bass line and give you some tools to work with. It's about discovering the sounds that you like and different ways for you to get your ideas across. So breaking it down to just the top 2 strings of our guitar. This is going to give you our bass tones. These are your lowest notes that you have on your guitar, your oomph, your emphasis behind your chords and the tones that you're playing. Each one of the chord progressions that you recorded for 3 minutes, that's what you're going to use as a backing track to get these bass lines going. We're going to start with 1 note, then we're going to add 2 notes, 3 notes, and then we're going to move to chords and arpeggios. 1 note is vague, but you can still play your chord progression. I'm just going to go through the 1, 6, 2, 5. 1 note doesn't give you major or minor. You need at least 2 notes for that. So what can you do with that? Some of the things that you can do is add rhythm to it. You can add some techniques, some rakes. When you play it just by itself, it sounds a little silly. That's why we have this drum beat. When you have a drum beat, it's easier to add different rhythms to it. You can hear something else to contrast your own ideas. When you look at this, we have 16 beats available. I just broke those beats up with rakes and I thought of 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 2, 3. And then I added the rake. Once I have that rhythm, I put that to this backing track. The idea is to get a rhythm going and then be able to build upon that. Use techniques to make it more interesting, add rhythm to that, and get used to creating your own grooves. We already know what the chord is supposed to be, so all we need to know is what is a major third and what is a minor third. Starting on C on our 8th fret, our major third is on the 7th fret, 5th string, right behind it. This is the same shape that you see for the G chord, the C chord, the F chord. Anywhere that you move this, wherever your middle finger is at, or the top string, that's your root note. So this is a B. major, C major, C sharp major, F sharp major, F major, E major. Now we have two notes available with the root note to create a major and a minor tone. So we have major, then we get to our A, you gotta flat the third, so this becomes our minor shape. Then our root note for D is right here. So we have D minor, and then G major, C major, A minor, D minor, G major. What are the things that you can do with just two notes? We can strum them. To help you and your future drummers out, let's think of it like a drummer. To make it a little more interesting than just strumming a rhythm, you can add singles. Just playing each one of the notes once. Doubles, just play each one of the notes twice. And you probably guessed that triples is 3 beats per note. So our drummers have this thing called a paradiddle. It is right, left, right, left, left. We're gonna translate that to the guitar using two notes. A little weird to get used to at first, but once you get it, we're gonna transfer that to each one of these chords. What we've done so far is worked with one note. How can you use one note to create something interesting with a drum beat? Now we have some ideas to do with two notes. We have our major and minor, and when you have a major and minor, it's not vague anymore. It is major and minor. Now you have a couple of other ways that you can still play and leave it vague. Single notes are very vague. You only have one note to work with. But when you have two notes, you can use your fifth chord and your octave. Your fifth chord is just your first and your fifth note. If we were to play the major scale from, it'll be your fifth note. On the guitar, it's always going to be the same way that our major shape and our minor shape are always going to be major and minor shape with that as your root note. The same thing with your fifth chord. That shape, wherever your first finger is, no matter where you go, it's whatever note this is, fifth chord. Fifth chords just reinforce the tone of that note. Same thing with octaves. The same distance, just one string below it. That's an octave. That is the same exact note. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's gonna work out with all of your notes though. That's two A's, that's two D's, G, C. With my left hand, my first finger is muting my sixth string, my fifth string, and I also have it touching my first string down here. Then when I add my third finger to this octave note, I already have this string muted with my first finger. I use this finger to mute out my second string. This one has my first, so that way I can strum all of my strings and only have two notes sound. I think of my octaves as more of like a hollow sound. It gives you that tone of that chord, but it doesn't have that same power as like your fifth chord. your root notes, your major and your minor dyad, your fifth chord, and your octave, you can play the same rhythms. You're just using different techniques to mute out your strings. And that's the cool thing, is the techniques and patterns are interchangeable with all your 2-note chords. You got your major, you got your fifth, you have your octave. You want this to carry over from your single notes. So you have that drum beat, you have that single note rhythm, boom, you can create a groove with it, add in that second layer of another note, starting off with the 1. Created a Spotify set list. Hopefully everybody can have access to that. That set list is there so you can hear different bands and their ideas of using what we have to work with to create bass lines. We're all working with the same notes and the same rhythms. It's just how you convey that to your audience. You have a drum beat, you use one note, create that groove to it. From there, how can you create that groove using 2 notes? What do you have? What are your options there? You have your majors and your minors. You can put those in their place. C is major, A is minor, D is minor, G is major. Then you can play vague with those using the fifth chords and the octaves. Using right hand control to play 2 strings. Using left hand technique to mute out all the strings. All of this is combined using a chord progression over a drum beat. You want to think of these different layers when it comes to the guitar, because the bass is the same exact thing as the guitar. It's just the top 4 strings of your guitar. So this way you can line up with your bassist and your drummer when you're creating tunes, and you can speak the same language. I'm using this beat, or I'm using these notes. And it'll be easy for everybody to communicate that way. Now just think, we already have our chords. We have our chord progression already. We've recorded those, or we're in the process of recording those. Then we're going to practice putting bass lines over them, appropriate to the song, but nonetheless, you want to try to use these different techniques. Start off with 1 note, make it interesting. Then use 2 notes, make that cool. Then we get into using 3 notes. Just gives it a little more oomph. Same thing applies with the power chord. We can strum it, we can play different rhythms with that, we can play the notes individually. With your singles and doubles, you can get creative with the different sounds that you choose. With your fifth chords and your power chord, I feel those are reserved for creating that rhythm. Not that they can't be used for anything else, and that's the thing with music. You can use it for whatever you want. Just be creative, and just knowing the tools that you have to create with. 1 note, 2 note, 3 notes. You can play them as chords, you can break them up, you can add rhythm to them. This leads up to our arpeggio. We're going to take the 4 notes that it takes to make our 7th chord. We're just going to play them in an arpeggio. Playing an arpeggio is like playing your chord in scale form, as opposed to chord form. With all of these, we're just following that chord progression of 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5 with major, minor, fifth chords, power chords, octaves, and now our arpeggios. What I want you to take from this video is being able to target your root notes and have more options surrounding those, so that way as you're learning more and you're learning more chords and you're learning your triads, you have these options that you can add to that to make everything sound more interesting. Use what you learn here to practice playing over chords that you already know. The purpose of this is to help you target your root notes. Practice these over your chord progressions and limit the amount of notes that you're using to force yourself into being more creative. What can you do with one note to create something new? Remember, all of these are just tools to help you become more creative as you move through and you're memorizing all the notes and the chords on your guitar. And just keep in mind that you can still be creative playing one note at a time. Check you in the next video.